Welcome to today's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. Just want to let everybody on social media know that the live stream is going on right now. This is. What's going on, Bombor? I'm going to get started right now. And today's live stream is about how to get out of your own way. And this live stream came to me after I thought about my live stream I made a while back, talking about how the comic book industry was its own worst enemy. And when people are their own worst enemies, oftentimes they wind up getting in their own way and they wind up impeding their own success. And because they wind up impeding their own success, they never get to actualize their potential or achieve whatever success they could possibly have. Now, most of these people out here who are their own worst enemy, the reason why they get in their own way is because oftentimes they have an idea in their heads about how they want to do things and how they want to achieve success. And because they want to achieve success in a certain predetermined set of steps, they wind up missing out on all of the opportunities they have to go out here and achieve something, and they miss out on opportunities that are directly presented to them because they're looking for things to come a certain way. Now, an example of this was shown to me last week when I looked at DC Comics editor Dan Dido, who got upset because facsimile comics of old comic issues from DC Comics were outselling newer issues. And your Dan Dido got frustrated that these new comics were selling better than his that these old comics actually were selling better than his new ones. And because these old comics were selling better than his new ones, he decided to step in the way of the success DC Comics was having selling the facsimile comics, and he decided to complain about the sales of the facsimile comics. Now, anyone who is out here and wants to achieve success, they're not going to get in their way, and they're not going to go out here and impede their own success. They're going to go out here and take the success that they get, and they're going to appreciate the success that they get, and they're going to go out here and try to continue building on that success, and they're going to continue trying to build on that success because if something is working, then they're going to keep working with it. I mean, if you have something that is successful, you don't go out here and try to go in a different direction because it's not going the way you want. You just go out here and work with the success that you have. And the reason why you work with the success that you have is because things are going the way that God wants them to go. And that's the big problem with the people who get in their own way. God has something really good for people. However, because most people want what they want, they get in their own way and they prevent God from being able to go out here and give them what he wants them to have and bless them with what he wants them to have, because they want what they want. And usually what they want usually winds up becoming something that does not allow them to achieve that abundant success or have the abundant life that the living God has for them. So people who get in their own way, they oftentimes wind up getting things that either are of inferior value or they wind up failing at all in life. And this is what happens to most people who are out here who get in their own way. They don't wind up getting anything at all because oftentimes they're so busy inside of their heads imagining what they want that they don't see what God has for them. So they're so busy wanting what they want that it has to be the way that they want it to be, and they can't see all of the opportunities out there that are waiting for them. And that's what I saw with your Dan Dido last week when we were having San Diego Comic-Con, and he was sitting there in his anger and frustration talking about how these facsimile DC comics were selling better than his current DC universe. And he was talking about how the current DC books weren't going to be able to sell. But the big problem was he didn't see that the current DC books aren't selling, and that if the customers are going out here and actively making efforts to buy these old DC comics, then maybe you need to go out here and give people that product that they want. I mean, that's how I do business. I mean, I remember back in about, I think it was 2012 or 2013 or so, I remember when I was giving out free ebooks on Smashwords, and I had published the story Esteem No Good Deed. And I had meant to do it just as a one-off story, and I was just going to leave it at that. However, over the course of that summer, I had not only gotten hundreds of downloads of the story on Smashwords, I had gotten thousands of downloads of it on Amazon.com on Kindle. And when I saw the success of the Esteem No Good Deed story, that's when I decided I would turn that story into a series, because if something is successful, I said in my mind, I'm going to give the customer more of it, and I'm going to give them more because they are asking for it. And that's what a person does when they don't get in their own way. When they see people actively reacting and responding in a positive way, they continue to go with that flow. And the reason why they go with that flow is because they see the success they're having and they want to continue having that success. And they don't want to go out here and lose the momentum for what they have. So they see momentum moving forward, so they go with that momentum. Now, at the time I was doing Esteem No Good Deed, I wasn't expecting that book to do well. I actually wanted to push another book, couple of books, like your Recipe for Success, which was also known as the Cassandra Cookbook at the time, and I wanted to see more sales on The Temptation of John Haynes. But I understood that when you have a product out here and customers are responding to the product by actively pursuing it, you go out here and you push that product more, because if your customers are after that product, you then give them more of that product. Now, in 2011, I had the same thing go on with another book I did called All About Nikki, The Fabulous First Season. I did 3 episodes on Smashwords for free And people liked that book so much that it became an international bestseller. And this was a book that I really didn't want to do at the time because I did the Maryland book, the screenplay book, and I didn't want to do it. But when I did the Nikki book, which is about a teen sitcom and was written on the format of a teen sitcom like the old Disney sitcoms, and I did 3 episodes as a sampler, people went back to buy the entire first season on digital, all 13 episodes. And that showed me, yeah, if customers want something, you give them more of it. And as I was out here giving them more with the whole first season, I then started doing work on the second season. So when I saw this book doing well, I decided to give people more of that book, not less of it. And that's what a person does when they see something doing well. They continue producing it, and they continue to make plans to produce more of it until the customer says they are no longer interested in it. So that's what happens when you don't get in your own way. But people who do get in their own way, what they do is they continue to try to give you what they want, and then don't go out of their way to give you what the customers are asking for. So they'll sit there like what they're doing at Marvel Comics right now. I'm KJ Django, you make a good point. Yeah, what they do now is when they see a book like Magnificent Ms. Marvel, Squirrel Girl, any of these other books out here that are called SJW books, they see these books not selling, and what do? They give you more of those books that are not selling instead of listening to the audience, and that's how they wind up getting in their own way. I mean, you have all of the tools for success right in front of you, and instead of you listening to the customer and looking at the indicators that the customers are giving in terms of, feedback, you get in your own way and try to make whatever products you want to push hard be out there for the customer to buy. Not understanding that when you are in a business, you are serving the customer, and you have to go out of your way to give the customer what they want, not try to force what you want on the customer. So that's how a person like at Marvel Comics they're doing right now, and DC Comics are doing right now. They're getting in their own way. And then when they get in their own way, what they want to do is blame the audience. And you can't blame the audience for not wanting the product. You have to take responsibility for your actions. And that's something people who get in their own way have a problem with, is that they really don't take responsibility for their actions. When they go out here, they will sit there and say, oh, it's the audience's fault, but you have to give the customer an incentive to buy the product. And your SJW editors and publishers, they don't give you an incentive to do that because they are so busy wanting what they want to give to you that they're not literally listening to you and providing you with what you need. And when you do that, again, you get in your own way and you prevent yourself from having the success you could actually have, because the success is out there for you and the success can be achieved, but you have to get out of your own way. You have to step aside and just let things flow. And that's one of the big problems a lot of SJWs, beta males, and feminists, and even some females have, is that they're so busy wanting what they want that just as they are about to achieve it, they get in their own way and they stop all of their success. And that's what I see with a lot of guys out here, especially a lot of the beta males. They will get an opportunity at achieving a relationship with a woman or being able to get involved with a woman, and then they'll say something stupid and that'll turn the woman off, and then she will want nothing to do with him. And that's all because he wanted to get things that he wanted to do. And then there's other things that the beta male does, is why he tries to force things to happen. And that's another major mistake that guys make is trying to force things to happen, and you can't force things to happen. Either they're going to happen or they don't. But most guys out here, they think they can do this, but it's not meant to work like that. So they're trying to force things to happen instead of trying to let the things flow. I mean, either they're going to flow or they're not going to flow. So that's how people also get in their way, is that things are flowing and going a certain way. And instead of them trying to go with the flow, they're trying to make things work towards whatever idea they have that they want to do, or they want to accomplish some sort of goal that is just not attainable. And I remember, again, early on in my writing career, I really wanted my fiction to be the thing that sold very well. And I remember, again, pushing for books like Cassandra Cookbook. I really wanted that book to do well. Unfortunately, there was no audience for it. But as I was doing blogs and promotion for Cassandra Cookbook on MySpace back in the day, a best-selling author friend of mine told me that my blogs were so good that I should consider doing a nonfiction book. Now, I didn't want to do a nonfiction book back then because I really wanted to see my fiction be a success. However, over time, I started looking at men's issues, and I started to see that there was a place for me writing men's issues. So I started doing the men's issues blogs, and they started becoming successful. And then I did my first ebook, Stop Simping. And again, I offered it for free back then. And the book took off because a lot of guys wanted to learn about simps. They wanted to learn about the behavior of simps. And with that book being a big success, I started seeing nonfiction and started seeing the opportunities with nonfiction, because along with the Nikki book being successful and eventually a recipe for success when I repackaged it, I started to see success from that. And then as I did Stop Simping, I started to see the market really grow for it, and I went with the flow of it. And then the next year, after I did the first Stop Simping, I did Manginas. Now, Manginas, when I did it, was a huge success. I mean, Manginas got over 1,000 downloads on Smashwords, and a lot of people started to notice my work with Manginas. They look like men, but they act like ladies. And that ebook was a huge hit. And when I started to see the real success there, that's when I started to really get serious about nonfiction. And I started to go with the flow of the nonfiction. I went with where the customers were going, and I set my direction there. And after I set my direction there, seeing where the success was, that's when I started putting out my plans to do Misadventures of Captain Save-A-Ho. And Misadventures of Captain Save-A-Ho was one of the biggest hits for the SJS Direct imprint. It actually has over 3,000 downloads over the last couple of years, and it's continuing to consistently sell. And the reason why it consistently sold is because I saw where the momentum was going. God was working with me, and I said, I'm just going to go with that flow. And that's what you have to do. You can't resist the flow, because if you resist the flow, you are going to get in the way of your own success, and you're going to continue to fail. So that's why you cannot get in your own way. If you see something going in a certain direction, you have to just go with that direction. And that's something a lot of guys have a hard time dealing with, because some guys out here, they have ideas, again, in their heads of what they want to do. They have this idea of what they want to accomplish, and they believe that they can go and get that. But what happens is they get in their own way, and then they wind up not achieving anything at all, because they just get in their own way and they want these certain results. I mean, I saw this also with Warner Brothers with Batman Beyond way back in the early 2000s as well. I mean, Batman Beyond was doing very well for Warner Brothers, but it was doing well with a teen audience. Warner Brothers wanted a younger audience, so they wanted to just cancel the show because they thought they couldn't sell toys with it. Unfortunately, Batman Beyond had a cult following, and it actually still has a cult following to this day. The same thing happened in 2009 or so, or 2010 or so, with Young Justice. Young Justice was doing very well in the ratings, but it wasn't doing well in the ratings with the small children, and that's what led to Warner Brothers canceling Young Justice. And they canceled Young Justice, and Young Justice had a big following. And Warner Brothers, because they couldn't sell toys in the short term, wound up losing an audience in the long term. And that audience managed to stay with the show and managed to continue petitioning Warner Brothers, but they lost an opportunity to really make money with Young Justice. I mean, they could have had 5 or 6 seasons. Yes, KJ, I know that Young Justice came back this year, but it came back because of all the people who were with it for the first 2 seasons and continued to lobby Warner Brothers and show that there was a following for this show. But they were like, oh, we couldn't sell toys to children, and we had because they had sold the license to Mattel, and it was a big mistake for them, and it showed another way that this company, Warner Brothers, got in its own way. And instead of them sitting there and saying, hey, this is making money, it's not making money with the demographic I actually want, but it's showing me a new demographic. So if we have a new demographic here, and this new demographic is showing interest in the product, then maybe we need to go out here and sell to that audience instead of trying to go after this target audience. Because when you're in business and you see something selling with another audience, you can't get mad at that audience. What you do is you adapt to that audience. And the reason why you adapt to that audience is because these people are showing that they are eager to spend money with you. And then if they're eager to spend money with you, then that's where the money is. The money with Young Justice was with the teenagers and the young adults. And what Warner Brothers didn't understand is the teenagers and the young adults actually had more money to spend on merchandise than the tweens and small children they were going for, because they wanted to sell these toys to young kids at Mattel, but they didn't understand that the collector market was just as big or even bigger than the children's market. So they were sitting there thinking, oh, we're going to go for these kids. But when I go to Comic Cons and I go to toy shows, the audience for older collectors is really out there. I mean, if you go out there to the toy collectors, they spend lots of money on toys. I mean, there are guys who will spend $50 to $60 on an import figure, and even maybe $100 on a 6-inch import figure, and they'll spend $200 to $300 on a premium figure like a Hot Toys. So there was money for Mattel to make on the collectors, but because they were short-sighted, they missed out on the opportunity to merchandise Young Justice to that older audience, just like Kenner missed out on the opportunity to market Batman Beyond to older people. And it was clear to me that animation was really people were getting excited for it as older audiences, because when you look at animation, especially in countries like Japan, that animation there is not seen as a children's medium. I mean, animation in Japan is seen as an all ages medium, and they have content for children, they have content for teens, and they have content for adults. But because Americans are so bent and set in their ways, what happens is they miss out on the opportunity to reach new audiences like those teens and adults, and they get in their own way and they wind up missing out on that opportunity. So that's one of the things I saw with Young Justice, is that they missed out on the opportunity to reach those older audiences, and they could have had that market that Disney tried to get way back about 25, 30 years ago, or about 30, 35 years ago with Black Cauldron, because Black Cauldron back in 1985, they were trying to do movies that were animated for older audiences. And I remember the same thing with Fox, I think, was trying to do it with Titan AE. And there was the opportunity there to open up the animation market for content for older viewers. But because these Hollywood studio executives got in their own way, looking for a certain demographic, they wound up missing out on the actual demographic that would have opened up the market. I mean, a lot of them, they wanted to open up the market with movies like Titan AE, movies like Treasure Planet. They really wanted to open up the market with those type of products, but because they didn't see that the market was actually there with a different product, they got in their own way and they never got to capitalize on the opportunity presented to them. And that's something people have to understand about opportunities. I mean, opportunities, when they come, you have to be able to see them in order to take them. And sometimes people are so busy looking for what they want that they miss out on what they could have possibly had. So oftentimes we want something so bad that we don't see that there's an opportunity for us to get something that's actually better than what we want. And that happens all the time because we get told that there's only one way to get success, or we have to try to use one approach to get success. And that's a major mistake that guys out here have. Now, I was one of those kind of guys back when I was in my 20s or so, or my early 30s. And I remember thinking that I had to go by the book. And I remember God speaking to me and saying that, Sean, that going by the book isn't God's way. So I understood over the last couple of years what he meant when he said that, because sometimes you're not going to find success going by the book. Sometimes God has success for you, but in ways that you just can't see, and you have to get out of this going by the book approach, or this singular approach, that to be able to see those opportunities. Because my idea of success that I had back in the day was going out here, getting one of these jobs and working 9 to 5 and building the SJS Direct imprint on evenings and weekends. That was my original plan for doing things. And that was the way I wanted to do things. However, over the last couple of years, I have seen God do work for me in ways that I didn't even expect to do or even thought about even trying. So when I looked at the way God did work, I saw that it wasn't going by the book. It wasn't going by a singular set of traditional rules, and that opportunities were coming to me in ways I never expected them to come. And I wasn't expecting God to bless me in those ways. Now, the ways I was getting opportunities, it was like very interesting. I mean, I would just be out here doing things like writing blogs, and it really, people would just come to me and ask me, could you write a column for me? Could you write an article for me? And I remember one time, I was like a couple of years ago, I was doing videos and writing men's issues blogs. O'Shea Jackson came to me. He asked me to write him an article several times. I wrote him 2 articles. And with those 2 or 3 articles, I was able to get the money to finance the cover for Legendary Mad Matilda. And that was a major surprise for me, because it showed me how God can work in a mysterious way and how God can help you achieve something that without the traditional route. Now, I had been wondering how I was going to get the money to pay for this cover for Legendary Mad Matilda. I was wondering how I was going to do it. And I was really struggling at the time, because I was just doing things with eBay and stuff like that just to pay for book covers and doing it through donations. And all of a sudden, O'Shea comes to me, asks me to write him some articles. And then I contact Mike Williams to design the cover for Legendary Mad Matilda. And we got the cover for the book. The book got released on October 31st, 2017. And it got to the marketplace with a professional cover. Now, I wasn't expecting to do that, because I wanted to do things traditionally. I was still looking for a job. But through a miracle, I was able to get the cover for Legendary Mad Matilda. And it showed me how Black men could work together to accomplish something. So that was something that I was shown by just going with the flow of things and letting things go and just letting it happen, is opportunity just came to me, and I was able to achieve something because I trusted in God, and and God did His work. And instead of me trying to go buy the book and looking to try to do things myself, I trusted God to lead me and guide me to do things and get opportunities done. And that's something people need to understand about trying to get success. I mean, if you can go out here and you trust God, He will help you get that success, because you're just going to go with His flow, and you're going to take the opportunities that He gives to you, and you're going to be able to use that to be able to do what needs to be done. I mean, God will help you work things out and get things done, and you won't have to go through things like trying to go by another person's rules. You'll be going by God's rules, and He'll be able to facilitate things for you to be able to achieve things that are actually more than what you would actually expect to do. And that's something a lot of people aren't getting these days. They're just thinking they have to go, traditional routes and follow these traditional rules and follow these traditional standards. But sometimes God has success for you in places where there are no traditional rules, no traditional standards, and there's things out here for you, but you would miss out on it because you can't really see it, because you're looking for a predetermined result, and you're looking for a predetermined way of things going. And that, when you're looking for predetermined results and predetermined ways of things going, you can get in your own way, because you're anticipating that predetermined outcome instead of looking for that success that could have come from a non-traditional way. Because when you're looking for that predetermined result, then you're going to miss out on the actual opportunities that are out there. And you have to be able to say to yourself, if there's an opportunity here, I need to take it, because this opportunity could actually help me move to the next level. Now, over the last couple of years, I've been doing YouTube videos and just trying to build up my channel and trying to go out here and sell books. And that's when Obsidian contacted me. And that was another opportunity that I believe God had blessed me with. When Obsidian contacted me, back then I didn't have any internet. I was going to the library to get my internet. And he started the Sean James Initiative. And I got my my USB device, and not USB device, but my pocket Wi-Fi, and I did the shows with him. And from there, I was building momentum, because thanks to him, I was able to start, selling books, and I was starting to able to really build some momentum towards replacing a lot of my old equipment, like my old MacBook Pro that I did my videos on. And I was able to really start building up things as related to my YouTube platform. And again, instead of me passing on the opportunity, I decided to go with the flow of things, and I was able to really benefit from going with the flow. Because if somebody wants to help you, you take the help, and with the help, you move your life forward. And that's what help was all about. And that's what Obsidian showed me, was that when somebody gives you help, you take the help, and the help has been about you taking the initiative to move things forward. And that's what I did. We set goals. I met all of the goals. And that's what you do when you want help. I mean, that's what you do. You take what's given to you, and you take that opportunity to move yourself forward. And I was able to move forward with the SJS Direct Imprint and getting the sales up for many books. And I was able to go out here and really start working on trying to elevate the YouTube platform, because at the time, I think I had about 5,000 or 6,000 subs, and I was starting to get 800, 900 views on videos, and I was starting to really, they call be a serious channel. So I was taking that time, and instead of me walking away from the opportunity, I went with the opportunity. And I had a lot of people in my own family telling me, you shouldn't be out here doing this, but I had to do it because I saw it like this. I saw that when I had my back to the wall, I didn't have a job, I'd been out of work for some time, and I really needed to take this opportunity because it didn't look like I was going to be able to get any more jobs from being out of work for so long. So I had to take the opportunity that was in front of me to move forward. And that's something that when you have to do, because when you're trying to go a certain way and it's just not working, you have to go with the way things are working. And the reason why you have to go with the way things are working is because if this is the way God wants things to go, it's the way He wants them to go. And the big mistake a lot of people do is that they want to continue going the traditional way that they believe is right. But if that way is not working, then you have to let that way go and go another way, because if you continue to go that way, what you're going to do again is get in your own way. And you don't want to get in your own way, because when you get in your own way, you waste a lot of important intangibles. And the most important intangible you waste is time. And time is something you just can't get back. And time, again, you can't get it back, because once it's gone, it's gone. And you can waste months, weeks, and even years trying to go a way that doesn't work. And when you waste that time, you waste valuable time out of your life you could have had, where God could have helped you actualize your potential, and He could have helped you go to the next level. So you prevent yourself from going to the next level by going out here and trying to make things go one way. But when you see it's not working and another way is working, you have to go that way, because maybe there's an opportunity there that God can bless you to be able to do the things you want to do, but do them in a way that glorifies Him, and do them in a way that actually may benefit you better in the long run. Because oftentimes the ways that people believe are successful, oftentimes those roads wind up on failures, because people are expecting to have success. And oftentimes the greatest success does not come from the places we expect it to come from. It actually comes from the places we least expect it. Because I remember back in the day reading about all of these Hollywood movies, and many of the movies that we call blockbusters today, many of those blockbusters back in the day, these were no budget movies that the studio expected to fail. I mean, for example, the Terminator franchise was actually a movie that was expected to fail at the box office. The original producers of the movie made the movie because they expected to take a loss at the box office. However, the Terminator film turned out to be a tremendous success. And many other movies they expected to fail were like The Godfather. The Godfather was expected to be a failure by the studio. I mean, The Godfather today is considered a cinematic classic. It is considered one of the best films in American history. But when the studio originally produced it, they thought that the film was going to be a failure. And most of the projects that Hollywood produced back in the 70s and the 80s, these were films that they thought they were going to throw them away and they weren't going to do anything. But many of those films became blockbusters. And I even saw that even in the 1990 with Pretty Woman and Ghost, both of those movies were never expected to do well at the box office. But now both of those films are considered icons in the romance genre, and they were the things that led to Demi Moore and Julia Roberts becoming superstars. So oftentimes, again, the success is not in places you expect it to be, but usually it's in a place that God knows where it is. And sometimes you just have to go with that flow in order to get to that success. So that's something most people today, they're having a problem with, because they want to get this guaranteed outcome. And again, success is something that isn't guaranteed, and you cannot get it through a traditional set of rules or traditional set of ideas or predetermined set of course. And that's something that people today have a big problem with, is expecting to get success through that predetermined set of rules. And that's why we have so many college graduates today so angry and frustrated, because they were told that if they went to school, got this degree, that there would be a job for them. And like myself many years ago, they're still trying to go by the book. However, going by the book isn't God's way. And God's way is the only way you can really get success, because going by the book, it may work for some people, but it doesn't work for everyone. And this is the mistake people make out here. And because they want things to work in that traditional fashion, what happens is they miss out on the ability to see all of those opportunities out there, because they're so busy looking to get that traditional success that they wind up missing out on the opportunity to actualize their potential in this life. Because sometimes the traditional way, it just doesn't work. And if you try to keep doing it the traditional way, you're never going to be able to achieve anything, accomplish anything, or be able to achieve any of the goals you set for yourself. I mean, for example, when I originally was out here, I wanted to publish through a trade publisher. I originally was submitting my books like Cassandra Cookbook to trade publishers, and I spent a good year and a half getting rejected. And I was wasting. I didn't know I was wasting time, but I thought that was the way you got a book published. But it wasn't until I lost my job that I really started to see that I didn't need to follow those traditional rules, and that if I go out here and start my own publishing imprint, what I can do is I'm going to be publishing books, and I could do this myself. That's what I saw back in 2009, was instead of me trying to go out here and seek the validation and approval of these trade publishers, I could go out here and build my own publishing imprint. Because the only thing that means a book is published is the fact that a book has an ISBN, a barcode. That's the only thing that's different between this book and a trade published book, is that that one is published by a corporation and another is published by a sole proprietor. So there's no difference between the two except the owner. And the content inside is based on the subjective opinion of the individual. So I started to see things from a very different perspective by walking away from the traditional way and getting out of my own way, because my efforts to try to get published through the traditional route and seeking the validation of others in the publishing industry, what that was doing was, it was me getting in my own way by giving other people power over me, allowing them an opportunity to judge my work, and them trying to tell me what my work is worth. And that was me lowering my own worth. And that's something a lot of people do when they get in their own way, is they lower their own value. They lower the value of what they're working on, and they leave themselves looking for the validation and approval of others, instead of going out to step out on faith and going out here to let their work be seen in the marketplace. And when I changed my perspective on publishing my own books, what happened was I started to be able to build my SJS Direct imprint. And even though I had to deal with a lot of resistance from people who originally were complaining about hand-drawn covers and were complaining about some of the editing, I still persevered, because I understood that this road I was going on, while it had its fair share of bumps, I was still making progress. And instead of me going out here and letting myself get in my own way, and by looking for the approval of others, I was finding value in self, because I was going out here and building the platform to be able to publish and sell my own work on places like Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, Smashwords, the iBookstore, and all of the places that the traditional trade books are sold. The SJS Direct books are sold right alongside them. And that's all because I got out of my own way and stopped looking for the approval of others and started seeing the value in myself. Because when you get out of your own way, then you can start really finding real value, and you can start going out here and achieving greater success. And that's one of the things that people need to understand about getting out of your own way. I mean, the only way to get success is to get out of your own way and stop looking for things to go a predetermined route, or looking for someone else to give you success. And that's another big mistake that people make when they get in their own way, is they are looking to get validation and approval from somebody else, and they're looking to get validation and approval from a certain group of people. And when you have people who are looking to get validation and approval from select groups of people, what they do is they get in their own way because they're looking to pretend in front of these people and put on a good face in front of those people instead of being themselves. And that's something that it can get in your own way, because you're looking to get involved with a select group of people instead of trying to deal with the people who want to deal with you. And this is something a lot of nice guys do, is they'll go out here looking to get approval of men and women that they like, and they'll look to get their attention. And what they do when they do that, they get in their own way because they give those people power over them. And when you give people power over you, then they don't see you as valuable, and then they don't want to spend time with you. And when you're looking for the attention and approval of others, that's you lowering your value again. Now, oftentimes when you see people around who want to be in your presence, it's better to go and be with those people, because those people are enthusiastic about you. Those people are passionate about you, and those people want to share your passions with you. And that's something a lot of people who get in their own way don't understand. They're so busy kissing up to the people who are popular or so-called famous, they can't see the people out here who may not be as popular or famous, but who could offer them an opportunity to go out here and improve themselves, an opportunity to build themselves up, and an opportunity to elevate themselves. Because when you have people out here who may not be that popular, these people may want to help you do things that help you take yourself to the next level. So it's very important for you to stop looking at the people and trying to chase them, but see who is coming to you. And that was one of the things that I made a key theme in the book Spinsterella to talk about, because oftentimes a lot of people, they miss out on these opportunities that are in front of them. And that book Spinsterella was all about about seeing these opportunities at great things and being able to go and get them once you face your fears about getting success. And that's what the whole Spinsterella book was really all about. It was about the Matilda and the Quiet Man facing their fears and taking advantage of the opportunities in front of them, because both of the characters, they had gotten in their own ways in books. And the Matilda character in The Legendary Mad Matilda, she was getting in her own way because she wanted this success in the club scene, but she couldn't see that there was success for her in corporate America. So in Legendary Mad Matilda, I also talk about this, and it's all about you being able to get out of your own way so that you can get the success that you want. Oftentimes, guys will get in their own way and girls will get in their own way, and they'll miss out. I mean, women oftentimes, the man who would make a great husband is staring them in the face, but because they want to be able to get this fantasy ideal of a guy, they get in their own way and they wind up passing that guy by instead of going right to that guy who is giving them the attention they want. So they miss out by getting in their own way, looking for this fantasy. And the same thing happens to guys out here with women. There will be a woman there who is showing interest, paying attention to you, and she's showing that she's available. But because you're so blind, you miss out on the opportunity to be with a great lady because you're so caught up in this fantasy. You have this idea that you have. And because you're caught up in this fantasy and this idea that you have of this dream partner, you miss out on the real people around you. And that's also how a guy can get in his own way, is that he's out here chasing a fantasy that he can't see the real opportunities and real people in front of him. And that's something that really, again, it can really hurt you because there are people, again, they're not that popular, they're not that so-called cool, they're not that so-called famous, but they have opportunities that they want to offer you. And those opportunities can turn into things that can take you to the next level. But because you're so busy looking for these opportunities to come a certain way and from a certain person, then you miss out on the other person out here who you don't know and is not that popular, but could give you that opportunity to really move your life forward. So you miss out on that. And it's really sad because that opportunity is there. And that's the whole thing about it, is that you miss out on that opportunity. Now, the reason why so many people miss out on these opportunities is because of their perception of the world. And when you have a messed up perception of the world, again, you're looking for things to come the traditional Madison Avenue and Hollywood fashion, or the traditional route that you were told they were supposed to go. Now, that may work for some people, but it doesn't work for everyone. And again, opportunities are all around us, but we have to be able to be open to them and in order to take them. In order to take them, we have to have vision to see where these opportunities are. And that's something that a man has to learn and a woman has to learn, is to be able to see those opportunities being offered to them. Because sometimes you will sit there and there will be an opportunity to do something and you won't even see where that market is. I remember last year, Mike Williams was talking to me. He's the artist of the Geek Slave Strip. He was talking to me about black manhood and black masculinity. And that's when I got the idea to do the John Haynes series. And that was another opportunity, just came out of nowhere because I got out of my own way. I saw that I was doing men's issues and I started to do men's fiction. And I did a conversation with Death. And again, because the opportunity was there, I was able to get some success on that. And it was one of the strongest selling John Haynes books ever. I mean, Conversation with Death is still selling, but that's all because I got out of my own way regarding selling books relating to heroines and then started focusing on books that are with heroes. Passionate about passion. I am on Facebook and Twitter. My Twitter is Sean S. James. I'll put a link to that if I can in the description, not the description, in the chat. And you can follow me on Twitter there. And you can also follow me on Facebook through facebook.com. That's Sean S. James. And if you guys want to donate to the Patreon that allows me to continue making videos, you can donate to the Patreon by the clicking on the links in the chat. So I'm on all of those platforms, and I am also on the Cash app as well. I'm also on the Cash app as well. So if you want to drop a donation there, or you want to drop a donation on the Super Chat, I would really appreciate it. I use all the money that I get from the Patreons and the PayPals and the Cash apps to pay for the internet. I use it also to design book covers like Legendary Mad Matildas and books like the brand new John Haynes Dark Succubus. All of those are all the covers are paid for with your donations. So that's all the money is used for. And again, talking about getting out of your own way. And again, getting out of your own way is something. Thank you, Black Ronin, for the donation. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate any donations you guys give me, or go out here and buy one of the books, because I really want to get the book sales up. It's something I really want to see readers go and pick up the books, because I present really positive stories about Black people and the Black experience, and I also do great men's issues nonfiction. But you have to get out of your own way, because oftentimes, again, the success is there, the audience is there, the opportunities are there, and all those things are out there for you. I mean, that's what really upsets me so much about the comic book industry is I would see how many people in the comic book industry, they just are getting in their own way, and they don't even understand that when you get in your own way, you are missing out. Like when I looked at those sales of those facsimile comics, I saw there that yes, there's a comic book industry that can function. I saw a marketplace that could function, and I saw customers ready to buy products. So all of the infrastructure of the comic book industry is perfectly fine. Unfortunately, when you have dysfunctional people, they get in their own way and they gum up the works of that infrastructure. And they prevent it from being able to function in the way it's supposed to function. Because if these facsimile comics can sell better than the brand new comics, then it tells me again, we have functioning infrastructure. There's nothing really wrong with the distribution outside of the no return policy and the ability of comic shops to sell comics. So the sales infrastructure is there to sell 1 million copies. However, the big problem is that most of these publishers want to continue forcing content customers don't like down people's throats, and they want to insist you continue buying their content. But if you don't produce a content that people want, then people have no incentive to buy it. And to blame the customer for the bad product is just like a bad musician blaming the instrument for them not being able to play. Now, the ability to play the instrument is based on the skill of the individual, and that's what's happening with the comic book industry is they have people who want to continue pushing their agendas, like Dan Dido wants to shove his dark and dreary New 52 universe down people's throats. And then over on the Marvel side and the indie side, you have a lot of these social justice warriors and far leftists who want to continue pushing their far left agenda in the pages of Marvel and other indie books. And then when they don't get the sales that they want, they get upset about things. And you can't get upset because you are getting in your own way. And you're getting in your own way because you want to get this success, and you want to get this success by forcing people to buy your products, forcing people to take what they don't want, and then you want to verbally abuse and attack people for not wanting to buy your product, and you want to get angry at the customer, but you can't get angry at the customer for not wanting to buy what you want. What you need to do is acknowledge that, okay, this doesn't sell, and get out of your own way and let whatever is selling sell. Because in business and in life, when you let things flow, then what happens is you start to achieve success. And when I looked at DC Comics and what they did with the facsimile comics, I said to myself, your Dan Dido doesn't even see the big picture. Because again, in publishing, 90% of all books fail, and then you need the 10% in order to sell. So if this group of facsimile comics is selling, then you go out here and you make the money on these books. So I wouldn't get angry that those books are selling. I would actually be very happy that they would be selling, because this book is making money and it's putting money in the pockets of everyone here. It is making sure that everybody is getting paid. So this book is a success, but because it's not the success Dan Dido wants, that's when he gets upset, and that's when he gets in his own way. And this is a major mistake that people make. They go, oh, this isn't moving, this isn't selling, so I want to try to make this sell. And you don't want to go out here and do that, because you're going to get in the own way of you being able to stay in business. And that's very interesting, Supremo. He wants to create his own legacy, but the irony is the legacy he's creating is not of a beloved editor like a Jim Shooter or a Julius Schwartz. He is now being known as an infamous editor. He's being reviled, he's being panned, and he will go down in history in a negative fashion. And it's not going to be a legacy, because the next man who comes into DC, he's going to tear all of that down. And the reason why he's going to tear all of that down is because none of the structures he has put up can go out here and survive. So he's going to wind up having a legacy that will be quickly forgotten, because the next man is going to, he wants to erase the past, but the next smart editor is going to go and reconnect with the past. And ironically, his legacy will be forgotten because he got in his own way. He could have had a legacy, but because he wanted to go out here and do these dark, dreary, and depressing stories, he wound up not having the legacy he wanted. And this is what I mean by getting in your own way. He could have had great success with DC Comics. He could have kept DC Comics going in the 21st century. But what happened was he wanted to have his legacy so bad, and he wanted his legacy his own way, that he got in his own way. And now he's going to have nothing in a good 5 to 10 years, because the comic book industry just can't sustain itself with the books that he is producing. So you really don't want to get in your own way, because you have those opportunities to go out here and do something great. But the only way you're going to be able to do something great is to trust in God, go with the flow, and go where he takes you, and not try to go where you want to go. Because when you try to go where you want to go, you're going to wind up going nowhere. And the reason why you're not going to go anywhere is because you are going your own way. And you are going in a way that will get you to go get in your own way. And when you get in your own way, you're just going to wind up missing out on all of the success you could have actually had. Because these guys, what they want to do is they want to be able to, who get in their own way in many cases, what they want to do is they are insecure, and what they want is a predetermined pattern that will guarantee them success every time. And I'm sorry, there is no predetermined pattern that will guarantee you success every time. And oftentimes when you try to get that predetermined pattern to get you success, usually you wind up failing, and you're on a road to guaranteed failure. Because when you try to get that predetermined success every time, it usually takes you down a road where you have to deal with predatory people, or you have to deal with situations with toxic people. And because you're on this road with these predatory and toxic people, these people take advantage of you, these people use you, and these people exploit you because they don't see you as someone that they see as a part of their success. And they don't see you as somebody they want to give an opportunity to or support. They basically see you as a tool, And the reason why you wind up running into these people is because you got in your own way and you wanted to go out here and get with the certain group of people instead of trying to get involved with the people God wanted you to get involved with. Oftentimes, the people you try to want to get involved with, these people don't have your best interest at heart. However, the people who God wants you to get involved with, these people will have your best interest at heart, and they will help you move your life forward, and they will help you be able to achieve greater things than what you wanted to accomplish or what you ever wanted to do. And they'll help you be able to do things that you never even thought you would be able to do. So oftentimes when you get in your own way, you prevent yourself from being able to actualize your potential, and you prevent yourself from being able to go out here and really do something that can have a tremendous impact, because you're so busy trying to get this, it may have an impact the way you imagined it to be. You miss out on the way God would have made you to have a success overall. So that's why it's important to just get out of your own way and just let things happen. Because when you get out of your own way, there are oftentimes greater things out there for you. And once you get those greater things, you will truly see how God has blessed you when you get out of your own way. That's why it's important to get out of your own way, because there's just so much stuff out there for you, but you can't really see it until you step aside and get out of your own way. Because when you get out of your own way, then then things can start moving, things can build momentum. But as long as you're in your own way, you are blocking your own success. And that's what happens to people who are their own worst enemy. They often get in their own way and they impede their success in this life. They're so busy wanting things to be a certain way that they wind up missing out on all of the great opportunities that are right in front of them. Because oftentimes, when you are in your own way, that opportunity is right there in front of you, right in front of your face. I mean, sometimes it's in plain sight. And because you're so busy looking for this over here, that you miss out what's right in front of you that could be used to build yourself up, used to build wealth, and used to be able to show you how to take yourself, the way to take yourself to the next level. All those things are right there in front of you, but because you want to be able to do things a certain way, again, you get in your way and you impede your own success. I mean, a lot of people that have $1 million ideas sitting there, but because they want what they want, they wind up getting far less in life. And that's because they get in their own way and they want to get what they want instead of getting what God has for them. So that's something that people they miss. They have to, I really want people to think about, because oftentimes we are our own worst enemies. And when I don't want to see people be their own worst enemy, I want them to be able to go out here and actualize their potential, be able to achieve the things that God has for them. And I want brothers and sisters to be out here to be able to accomplish what they want to accomplish, what God wants them to accomplish, because there's a lot of opportunities right in front of you, but you just have to be able to open your eyes and see them. And that again means you have to change your perception of self, change your perception of the world around you, and really stop looking for things to go the traditional way. Because just like they said in I think it was the Psalms, that there's a way that seems right to a man, but the end is death. And that's what happens to people who get in their own way. There's this way that just seems right because everybody's told that's the way that they're supposed to go, but the end of it leads to their death because they never get to go out here and achieve what God has for them. So that's what happened. Thank you, K Walker 98, for the Proverbs, yeah. It's been a while. I don't have it in front of me, so. But that way that seems right, you think it's going right, but then the whole thing is you get in your own way, and then you wind up on the road to death. So and that death is spiritual, it's also mental, it's emotional, because you're stuck in this toxic situation. And this toxic situation is because you ironically got what you wanted, and you got what you wanted because you got in your own way. And that's why you don't want to get in your own way and do things that seem right, but you want to go out here and trust in God to be able to deliver you. And when He delivers you, then you will be able to go out here and have the success, and you'll have success in a way that can't be taken from you, and you have success that won't get destroyed, and you'll be able to do things that will allow you to have something that's lasting, because when God gives you something, He doesn't take it away. And sometimes He takes you out of a path that you thought would be traditional success, so He can put you on a road to greater success. And what happens is, once you get out of your way and let God do His work, then you can go out here and do great work out here overall. So when I look at the whole thing as related to the comic book industry, the movie industry, the television industry, and even in corporate America, I see a lot of people who are in these jobs and at these companies, and they are struggling. And the reason why they are struggling is because you have people who get in their own way, and they've gotten in their own way because they are afraid. And the big thing that has them afraid is they are afraid of failure. And people who trust in God, they're not afraid of failure, because they understand that there is no failure with God. And they also understand that when you are in God's hands, you have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain, because everything works towards God's righteousness and glory. And when you're out here, you're going to have faith that it's going to work, because you trust in God to do the work as you are working with Him. And that's something that people who get out of their own way do. They trust in God to do the work that they can't do, but they put their best efforts forward towards moving things forward. And sometimes when you're out here, you're having a positive impression on people, and you're not even thinking about having that positive impression on people, because you're just out here doing what you're going to do. And again, you're trusting God to do that work that will help you move forward. And that's something you do when you get out of your own way. People who get out of their own way, they just go out here, they're doing their thing, and as they're doing their thing, the opportunities come to them. And as the opportunities come to them, they can just see them, take advantage of them, and then use those opportunities to get blessed by God, and then use those opportunities to move themselves forward. And that's just what happens when you get out of your own way. I mean, when you get out your own way, things will start happening. And the reason why they are going to go out here and start happening is because you're letting things flow, and the opportunities are coming to you. But when you get in your own way, you again put that wall up, and that wall keeps everything from coming, and it diverts it oftentimes to somebody else, and they can go out here and get the opportunities that you miss, and then they can get the success that you could have had. And that's something a lot of guys who get in their own way, they never think about, because all they're thinking about is what they want, and not thinking about what's in front of them. Because oftentimes, again, there are opportunities out there. There are people who you would never think could do anything, and they would turn out to be the person who helps you get to that next level. You would sit there and think, oh, this guy over here, he's supposed to be a top star, or he's supposed to be A-list, and he would help. If he saw my stuff, he would take me to forward. But then there's the D-list guy, who's the guy who you put down. But the D-list guy, he's the one who brings you up. So Wise Guy Joe, what if breathes outside your door? nothing but toxic people. There are positive people out there, but the whole thing is you have to walk away from that toxic group and look for the positive people. They're out there, and there are numerous opportunities to meet positive people out there, and you just have to get out of your own way, see the other people, and that again requires you to change your perception and change your vision and how you see things, because there's opportunities everywhere, and that you can only see them once you start getting out of your own way, and then you can start to see those opportunities, and you can start to see those people out there who would be willing to help you or willing to help you move forward. And that's something a lot of people don't really understand out here about success. Is success doesn't come from extremely popular people. It comes from the least place you would ever expect it to be. I mean, success can come from something out of nowhere, and it could come from something you would never expect to ever be anything. I mean, sometimes you can do something and it would be out of nowhere. You would run into people who you thought, oh, this guy's nobody, but this guy can turn out to be the person who can help you become somebody. So there's a lot of these toxic people out there, but then the whole thing is you have to keep your eyes open for the positive people, and then you can find those people, and then you can just leave the toxic people behind. So that's another thing that you have to do. Once you get out of your own way, you're going to be able. Those people aren't going to want to bother with you anyway whatsoever, because they're not going to want to be bothered with you. Again, as you start building yourself up and putting yourself first, these people will start repelling from you because they don't want to be around anybody positive, and they want to run away from anybody who's out here doing things that are extremely positive. They don't want to be around that type of person because you're radiating more positive energy, and that positive energy is going to drive those people away from you. I know from my own personal experience, when I started focusing on building myself up as far back as 16 years old, all those people didn't want anything to do with me anymore. And in fact, they just started pulling away from me, and eventually they just wound up going their way. I went my way, and then I started getting out of my own way. And that's something that I had to learn how to do over the course of maybe 15, 16 years, was to stop looking for success and from this traditional route of jobs and trying to get a job, because that's something I always wanted to do, was get one of these jobs and work full time. And I wanted to be able to work 9 to 5, build the savings, and go out here and publish my books through the traditional route. That's what I wanted to do. But God had a different route for me, and the only way I got to that route was by getting out of my own way and to stop going by the book, because going by the book is not God's way, and it's not the way to any sort of lasting success, because when you go by the book, you're doing things on somebody else's terms, namely Madison Avenue, Hollywood, the college system, and those routes are not God's routes to success. And God's routes to success are ones that will allow you to prosper even greater than the traditional routes, and allow you to achieve success in places that people in those traditional routes never thought they would ever go. I mean, a lot of these people, they would frown on doing certain things. I remember back in 2006 when I was doing Temptation of John Haynes, I got all these nasty rejection letters because many people didn't like the idea of a fantasy book featuring a black man. And that book today is one of my most critically acclaimed novels. And that was due to me not going the traditional route, getting out of my own way, and going out to just publish a book. So that's something that I didn't expect to do, but it just happened because I got out of my own way, stopped trying to do things the traditional route, stopped trying to go by the book, and started going God's way and starting to build my own thing. So that's something that I did, and that's something you guys can do, because once you get off that road, again, you're going to find more satisfaction, because God will give you things that will allow you to get that things through without having to make compromises or do things that people on the traditional route do, they never really find any satisfaction, and they never really find any peace because they have to think about all the things that they did on the traditional route where you have to make all of these mental compromises, these spiritual compromises, and you have to make all of these personal compromises, and you have to live with yourself as you're making these mental, spiritual, and other compromises. And that's just not a way to live. That's not an abundant life. That's not a good life. That's just a life where you're just miserable. And again, when you're trying to go this traditional route, oftentimes people are miserable because they are out here doing things that they have to live with themselves, and that's what leads to people having serious issues. So that's why it's best to just get out of your own way and let things happen, because when you let things happen, again, things might actually be better for you than what you originally had planned to do. Like, for example, you have guys out here, they have a thing for a woman from afar. They really want to get with that woman. But then there's another woman who actually is interested in them. She's not as so-called attractive as the other woman, but she has a lot of great internal character traits. And what will happen is the guy will go for the extremely attractive woman and thinking about her externals, but the woman who's actually interested in him has good internals, and he doesn't get with the woman with the good internals, and he winds up miserable, and he winds up missing out on the opportunity at a lasting relationship, and he winds up either getting involved with this woman and the woman dumping him, or he winds up marrying that woman and he winds up in a miserable marriage and a divorce. Whereas the other guy who sees this woman who is not that attractive, I mean, she's very pretty, but she has a lot of these great internals, but this woman is more suited to be a helpmeet and a support. She helps that man who gets involved with her. She helps that man build himself up, and they have a lasting relationship that lasts until death do they part, and they get all of the success that God has for them because this man can see the opportunity with the woman who is the woman who people wouldn't consider to be attractive, but offers him an opportunity to do things that would be successful. And the reason why he can see that woman is because he's not getting in his own way, and he sees the opportunity in front of him. And again, I put that type of story in Spinsterella to show how the Matilda character was, for the quiet man, the opportunity for him to have a relationship with a woman who would help him move to the next level. And a lot of guys, they would pass on certain women for other women, but oftentimes they don't see that woman who would help them move to the next level. And again, same thing with women. They'll see this man who they consider to be so-called boring, but that man you could have had a successful relationship with until death do you part, but you missed out on it because you were chasing whatever fantasy or idea that Madison Avenue in Hollywood was presenting for you about this ideal. And as long as you're trying to go after this ideal, you get in your own way and you miss what God has for you. Tanya, I would suggest trade school at this time because college today is consumer education, and trade school, once you get those skills, you own them for life. And usually when you own them for life and you build on them and master them, what you can do is start your own business. And usually what most guys do when they're in trade school is after they get these skills, they then use them after working for a while to start their own business, or they just start their own business. So I would suggest trade schools, like welding, like auto repair or auto mechanics, or even going out here into the culinary arts and finding a trade that is your passion. And that's the most important thing, is to find a trade that you're passionate about. Like if you like working on cars, go to a trade school where you can learn to be a certified auto mechanic. Even though if you're working on cars every day, you're going to learn those skills. But The whole thing is to follow your passion, because when you follow your passion, what happens is you are doing something that you love. And then when you're doing something that you love, you can really start creating new innovations, new ideas, new concepts, and you can really start doing things that you like. So I say go to trade school, and when you pick a trade school, go to one that allows you to follow your passion. You really don't want to just go to any trade school just for the money, because if you go for the money, you're never going to be able to actualize your potential. And that's another thing that people do to get in their own way is they go to places like college and trade school for the job that makes the most money and not the one that allows them to follow their passion. And they're told, oh, let's go to college. And if you go to college, you can get this degree and make all this money. And that's not really why you should go to college. If you go to college, it should be for something that you love doing, something you're passionate about. I mean, if you like computers, you want to learn something about computers, you go to school for computer science, or you go to school to do something. You really don't want to just go there for the sake of going there so you can go get an anthropology degree to go be working in a Starbucks. That's what happens to a lot of people is they go to school looking to get this career that people told them to get. And again, they get in their own way and they miss out on the success of life. Well, David, how you navigate your emotions when getting blasted by women? What you do is you have to realize that, and whenever you hear women talking, they're usually emotional, and you can't take it personal. Usually, when you deal with women, oftentimes who are like this, who are really nasty like that, you can feel about things, but you can't act on them. And while they're talking, you can just sit there and listen to it on the surface, but you have to let it roll off you. So when you deal with women who are like this, with this nasty mouth, this being blasting people, you just got to let it go in one ear and out the other. And then what you do is you have to walk away from this type of woman. And then after she said what she said, you just cut her off and leave her to herself and leave her to be miserable in her own company. Yeah, that happens. But you can't really get upset about it because their opinion of you is not how you see yourself. And yes, they're going to say that you're the angry black man, or they're going to try to demonize you. But that's her perception of you. That's not your perception of you. And you cannot take that perception on you. The only thing you can do when you're dealing with this toxic person is see, this is a very toxic person, and make sure you minimize your contact with them and put some distance between you. That's all you can do with a toxic person like that. I mean, most people, when they see these women like this, what they do is they just let what they say go in one ear and out the other, and then they leave her to wind up being in her own world. So that's what you do when you're working and in a social situation. I mean, I worked at a library circulation desk, so I know about what you're going through as it's related to dealing with people who are rude, people who are nasty, people who are hostile. Is you have to let it go in one ear and out the other. You can't take it personal at these jobs. I've worked customer service, not only there, but I worked it at Food Emporium where people were angry because they thought I wasn't working fast enough to put their groceries in a bag. And I just had to learn how to take that and just move on, because you have to look at it this way. I'm only here for a couple hours, and I'm here for just to make this money. And then after I've made this money, I'm going to go work on things that are related to the passions I have and the goals I want to achieve. And I'm probably never going to see this person again. So when you're dealing with toxic people like that, focus, navigate through your emotions. Don't allow them to make you react to them. Respond to them by just letting it go in one ear and out the other, and then start working on building your escape route so that you don't have to deal with these toxic women. When I look at your situation, it reminded me of myself when I was working at City College and working at places like Food Emporium, and I just started working on my way out instead of trying to try to deal with these women all the time. I always looked at it as I'm looking for my way out so I can move forward, not looking to stay there and deal with them. And in most cases, when you're dealing with these toxic women, this is the only place they can go because no one else is going to put up with their nonsense. So when you're a man, you think about going someplace else and doing better, because when it comes down to the toxic women, they're never going to do better because their attitude is why they have such low altitude. So that's how you can move yourself forward. And the only way you can get in your own way is to get into it with them. And that's the mistake a lot of people make when they go on a job, is they think they can go out here and get into it with these women. And again, if you get into it with those women, you're going to get in your own way. They're going to tie an anchor around your leg and bring you down. Hello, Castle Dragon 78. I'm glad to see you here at the stream. We are talking about getting out of your own way and how people can be their own worst enemy. And I'm trying to go in depth so people can understand the ways to get out of their own way so they won't be their own worst enemy. Well, you're working for Sprint, but now you can focus on trying to get someplace else. I mean, once you start focusing on other jobs you want to do, then you can go for one of those jobs. I mean, if we're supposed to be in this boom economy, then you can start focusing on trying to find another job so you don't have to deal with the toxic females. Because this is how when you deal with toxic females and toxic people, the only way to deal with them is to just walk away from them and then leave them to that toxic environment. I mean, they are going to be here probably in the next 5 to 10 years, and they'll probably continue to be there even after you've gone in 5 to 10 years. This is the best they can do, and they don't want to do any better. So you make efforts to improve yourself. That's a good point, wise guy Joe. Yeah, that it's the live my best life, happy wife. But most of those people who are saying that usually get in their own way, and they usually wind up miserable. So, yeah, I had a black mammy supervisor, Spirit of Justice, and yeah, they are the worst. When you have the black mammy, I'm sorry you have to deal with that. She's usually brown-nosing the white men in the job, and she's usually looking for ways to get the other black people fired. And if you are a biracial or a light-skinned woman, oh, she's going to give you a whole bunch of jealousy and envy and hatred. So it's a nightmare to deal with a black mammy supervisor. I mean, I was there at City College dealing with that, and it's just a situation where and the worst type are the pro-black ones. Yep, 40s with no kids, no husband. She's just a very miserable person. Very, very miserable. And again, can't let that person make you get in your own way and trip yourself up. So that's the person you can't let them get in your own way. And the best thing to do is get out of your own way and get out of her way, because she's going to hit the wall and knock herself down. So that's what you have to do with toxic bosses and toxic workers, is just get out of their way and let them self-destruct. Because what they want to do, again, is make somebody miserable in their own company so that they can feel better about themselves. And if you want to feel better about yourself, what you do is get out of their way and let them self-destruct. And because they are going to self-destruct, because they are so filled with anger, they're so filled with rage, that all they're thinking about is hurting other people, and they want to make sure that they hurt you, and they want to get you to hurt yourself. So what you want to do is just let them remain miserable, let them stay in their anger, and then just let them self-destruct. Because usually, in a lot of cases, when you let toxic women and toxic bosses self-destruct, they will wind up out of a job in 6 months to a year. So you get out their way and get out of your own way, you could possibly get yourself promotion by just letting them self-destruct. Yeah, I had to cut off a lot of toxic people when I was in my like 13 years old and even 16 years old. And again, cutting off toxic people is you getting out of your own way as related to friends, because once you get this person out of your life and get them out of your life, you can then open the door to have healthier relationships, and it's those healthier relationships that will allow you to grow. So cutting off toxic people, it's a very good thing to do, because if this person isn't going anywhere, all they're going to do is bring you down, and your life is too short to allow yourself to be brought down by a miserable person who doesn't want anything, doesn't want to do anything, and doesn't want to accomplish anything. So when you go out here and you cut off the toxic people, you are actually helping yourself, because it shows that you're healthy. And as a healthy person, you're going to cut off toxic people so that you can go out here and be the best person you can be. So got 27 in the chat and 16 likes. Can we get the likes up, guys? I really would appreciate it. Get it up to 25, because that helps with the algorithm and it helps overall. And if you guys want to donate to the super chat, again, you can donate to the super chat, and I would really appreciate that. Or you can donate to the Cash App or the Patreon. Because that helps me be able to pay the bills, and it also helps me to pay for the covers of the 2020 SJS Direct catalog and to help fund the ISIS graphic novel. I have enough for the East Team No Good Deed story, but I still need to raise funds for the feature. And again, $1 donation will go a long way to the Patreon, and a donation of $1 to the Cash App could really help. All I'm asking for is $1. I mean, if I have close to 11,000 subscribers, we can get the funds for the graphic novel in less than 2 months. So if you guys could donate to the Cash App or the Patreon, again, it really helps with the fundraising for the ISIS graphic novel. And I'm sorry that's happening to you, David, but the whole thing is with to create the work-life balance is you have to set boundaries with your bosses, because a lot of times when you have these bosses out here, they will try to get you to work 12, 13 hours and try to get the work to be your life, but you have to set a boundary with people, because what they will do is try to work you to work all these hours while they're in the back doing nothing, or they're letting their friends get off work and they're having you pick up the slack. So oftentimes when you're dealing with these jobs out here, a lot of times you have to understand you have power too, and you have rights too, and you have a right to your own personal life. And this is a big problem with today's job market is people are afraid to push back. And when you don't push back, what happens is you get in your own way and you wind up making a deal for a job that does not allow you to work on your terms. And yes, you are working for someone, but remember, at the end of the day, you are working for yourself. And if you're working for yourself, you need to focus on the goals you have for yourself. And when you work for yourself, you have to understand at the end of the day, you are responsible for yourself. So that's a point I go in depth talking about in Stop Simping in the Workplace. And that was a great book that would really helps out a lot of people as related to their careers and the things that as related to their careers, because oftentimes people get taken advantage of at these companies by predatory females and predatory bosses. I'm going to leave a link to that book in the chat, and you guys can pick that one up on Smashwords. It's a book that will transform your life and transform your career. Stop Simping in the Workplace, because when it comes down to these bosses, they will try to make it look like they are the ones who are in charge. They are the ones who control your life, but they are only in charge of getting work done. They don't have a right to control your entire life or take all of the hours in your day, all because they want you to have it on the job. So you have, when you read Stop Simping in the Workplace, it's a book that will help you really understand how to really start setting a direction for your career and to start setting goals for where you want to go. Because where you want to go in your career is not about trying to brown nose a boss at a job. It's about you going out and setting goals for what you want to accomplish as related to what you want to do professionally. Now, back in the day, my goal was to publish a book. That's what I wanted to do professionally. And my other goal was to go out here and keep a full-time job. Now, I wasn't able to do that goal, but I was able to go out here and publish not only one book, but almost 70 books at this point. And that was because I got off my own way and let God lead me to what projects to write and what projects to pursue. And you have to think about it that way as related to your own career. You cannot think about just getting a job and being on the job, but you have to think about what you want to do on that job and what you want to accomplish on that job. And then after you finish accomplishing what you want to accomplish there, you then move on to the next organization if it's possible. I mean, if you get a really good job, like something with civil service or the government where you get good job security, yeah, I would say stay there, but still focus on moving to the next job if it's possible in the government or civil service so that you can continue to maintain your security. And if you want to pursue other ventures outside of there, feel free to pursue those ventures if it does not put your job in jeopardy. And even if so, go out here and pursue those ventures. What's going on, Tori Tate? Glad to see you here. Again, we're talking about getting out of your own way because a lot of people, they get in their own way and they prevent themselves from actualizing their potential and being able to achieve what they're supposed to achieve. What's going on, Benny G? Glad to see you here. Again, was talking about the getting out of your own way. And that's something guys have to do is when they see opportunities to be able to move, you take those opportunities to move. I mean, if you see a toxic job situation and you get a job offer, you will be able to go out here and be able to take that opportunity and be able to go to a place where you can move yourself forward. So that's something you really want to do is go out here and find another place to go. If you can find another place to go ahead and take that place. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of these jobs, they're out here. They're not meant to be a place for you to stay forever. I mean, when you're going out here, don't think about staying in a job forever. Think about staying there until you finish what you want to do. Once you finish what you want to do, then thank you, Fan3, for the donation. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to donate to the Super Chat or the Patreon or the Cash App, again, the links are in the chat, and you can go and donate there. And each donation is really appreciated again. Thank you very much. But when it comes down to a job, you don't want to be able to be dependent on that job. You want to be able to see that job as something that, yeah, this is just something I'm doing because it's leading to me being able to do what I want to do. For example, let's say you work in IT and you are in a entry-level position and you're learning about computers and you're just saying, oh, I'm just here until I can get enough skills to pass this Net Plus certification or this MCSC certification, and then I'm going to move on. So basically, your goal is to just take this job. It might be, working in a computer room or working in a computer lab, and you're not there just to just stay there for the next 5 to 10 years. You are there until you go out here and get your certification, and then you move on to the next job or you start your own business. So that's how you go about having a career is you set that course by saying, look, I'm just going to take this job, and then once I get this Net Plus or this MCSC certification, I'm going to move on. So that's something that you have to do. And yeah, Benny, you make a good point. Yeah, you have to really avoid beta males and simps on the job. and avoid jobs where these guys are, because these guys are toxic. And the beta male's big problem is he gets jealous of other men and he fears other men. So what you do with the beta male is avoid this guy, because usually the beta male is going to self-destruct by doing something stupid on the job, and the simp is going to do self-destruct on the job because he's going to get involved with one of these women on the job, and she's going to get leverage over him, or he's going to say something inappropriate to a woman, and she's going to drag him into HR for sexual harassment. So usually simps on the job are self-correcting problems, and they usually wind up self-destructing. So get out of your own way by getting out of their way and let them self-destruct. Oh, thank you. David, yeah, you have to get away from beta orbit, beta friends, because again, all they do is spend their time complaining about why they can't do things and complaining about what they want to do, and they never really finish anything. So that's one of the problems with beta males, and that's one of the things that makes them very toxic people, is that they will talk about things they want to do. They'll make promises to people, and they never finish anything. So the faster you get away from them is the better for you, because you really want to be around positive people, because positive people, they are about finishing things, they are about getting things done, and they are about building. They are not about sitting there and complaining that things aren't getting done. They are out here working towards things done. Well, I'm sorry that happened to you, Benny, but I had to deal with a beta male manager myself, and they are the worst. And when you deal with a beta male, he's always avoiding people. He never wants to deal with conflict, because if you're a manager and somebody who's trained in management, conflict is a way of life for a manager, and your job is to solve problems. So this is the big thing with beta males, is that it's all about solving problems. They don't know how to solve problems because they are afraid of conflict. And because they are afraid of conflict, that's why any business they run runs into the ground, because they hide from people. And I saw that on Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares and Gordon Ramsay's Hotel Hell, where you had these businesses, some of them in prime areas. And because this beta male just did not want to set a course for the company, he didn't want to have a vision for the company and a direction for the company, and he didn't want to deal with conflict, everything fell apart. He didn't want to deal with employees who were very good. He didn't want to deal with delegating certain tasks that were unpleasant. He would always delegate things to one woman, and that would be his surrogate mother. And because he was involved with the surrogate mother, she would have to take on all the burdens and responsibilities that he was hired to do, or he had taken over. And it really destroys good businesses. Businesses that could have promise, they wind up falling apart because you have a beta male in charge. And the beta male, he's the worst when it comes down to business. To Love My Smile, I'm glad you enjoyed the video about navigating office politics and people. I do those workplace videos because I want to help guys and girls get their careers going and be able to set courses so that they don't have to get caught up in all the nonsense out here. David, yeah. Yeah, that big old beta, he was just a sad dude, and he was just in his feelings. So he didn't know that it was his perception that was causing people to hate him, and his approach to people that was turning people away from him. Well, when in that type of situation, you just got to make your plans for your exit, David. Once you make your plans for your exit, you don't have to deal with them anymore, and that's really going to help you, because that's what you do when you're dealing with beta male bosses and dysfunctional bosses, is you make your plan for the exit, and then you start moving towards a better career in a better environment, or even starting to work on your own business. Benny, I'm sorry that happened to you, but that's the beta male simp right there. He goes after other people because he's angry about his life and he wants to make other people miserable. So that's one of those things that beta males do, is that they sit there and he's having a bad situation, and then he goes out here and he goes after other employees who haven't done anything in order to hurt them because he's hurting. But it also, what happens is he hurts his own business. So his wife divorced him for cheating, and that had nothing to do with the workplace. And usually in these cases, these guys get themselves fired or they wind up imploding. So the best thing to do is let these guys self-destruct. Um, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, another good way to get out of your own way is to learn those foreign languages. That's a good point because, again, there might be an opportunity outside of the U.S., and then once you do that, you can open a door for yourself when it's offered to you. So oftentimes that's a great way to get out of your own way because people outside of the U.S., they can see you and they might want to give you something or offer you something, and then you can capitalize on that opportunity because you now have the skill that allows you to be an asset out of a thing. Yeah, getting fired is in some ways for a good thing because it does open a lot of doors and it allows you to open yourself up to new opportunities. And yeah, don't see it as a bad thing. See it as it didn't work, and then you can just go work on something that will work because sometimes it's not you that's the problem at a lot of these jobs. A lot of times these environments are toxic. A lot of these environments are dysfunctional. And a lot of these environments, a lot of people, once they leave them, they go to another place and they thrive. And that shows me that it's not the person that's the problem. It's the environment that's the problem, that's filled with toxic people. Because I could take one person who is considered to be a so-called bad employee, and I could take them and put them in another environment, and they could be an amazing employee and take the company to the next level. Or you could have a woman who's in a relationship where things were bad, and she gets with another man, and that man, she's doing exceptionally well. And again, it's about you getting out of your own way and getting access to the people who will allow you to take yourself to the next level. And that's something people need to think about because once you once you get out of your own way and get out of a bad situation, you can go into a better situation, and that can really help you overall. So oftentimes you will wind up losing on the short term, but then you'll wind up growing in the long term. And that's what happened to me 10 years ago when I lost my job at City College, is that, yeah, I lost financially, but then I wound up growing overall as I was building the SJS Direct imprint. I wound up building my catalog. I wound up building my ability to write different types of genres. And I wound up learning different skills like marketing books, book promotion, and I even learned how to make my own ads and advertising. So over 10 years, I gained a lot of different skills, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do that had I continued on the course I wanted to go on, but the course God wanted me to go on when he told me to keep going. I have managed to grow. And again, I wasn't going by the book. I was going God's way. And as I was going God's way, I was able to go out here and do and accomplish things that even I wasn't expecting to do, because I had originally just planned to do 3 books, which was the Cassandra Cookbook, all about Maryland and the temptation of John Haynes, and end my writing career at that point, and then continue to focus on civil service. But God had a different plan, and I wound up writing almost 70 books, and I was not expecting to do that. And that was because I wound up getting out of my way and going God's way. And you can achieve the same type of blessings if you get out of your own way and start focusing on that. Good point off the corner. Yeah, work environments today, they do reflect society. And yeah, today's society is filled with betas, feminists, simps, and SJWs. And it's a toxic environment where nobody can really grow. And when I look at the workplace today, it's just a place where you can make money and you can use your money for your passion, and then you can go out here and work on other things. So when I look at these jobs, I don't get emotionally attached to them. And that's the big mistake that betas, simps, manginas, SJWs, NPCs, they get emotionally attached to the job, and they don't see it as a way to just make money and then eventually move forward, because it's not about you being loyal to the company, because these companies are not loyal to you. So what you need to do is focus on what you want to do there, get whatever skills you want to get out of there, and then get on your way. So, well, thank God you did have health insurance, because yeah, that's how you got blessed, Benny. I mean, you got out of a toxic job where you didn't have health insurance, and now you're in a better one, and you were able to go out here and get that better job with health insurance. So yeah, you were blessed. I mean, thank God you did were blessed. So yeah, getting fired did save your life. And again, it's like that's how it happens when you get out when you go with the flow. Is that those opportunities come, and you're able to go out here and be able to capitalize on them, and then you can actually get the things that you need from that job. And again, that's what happens when you get out of your own way. Is again, you have God out here; He will give you far greater than what you would get from what you want. You would get what He wants to give you, and you can only get that once you get out of your own way. I'm going to get ready to wrap up today's stream. If you guys, again, I'm going to leave a link to the Patreon. I'm going to leave a link to the Patreon and the Cash App. And if you want to make a donation to help me with the ISIS graphic novel or the covers, you may do so. And if you want to pick up the legendary Mad Matilda on Amazon in paperback and Kindle formats, I would really appreciate it. This book is on Kindle Unlimited, and you can read it for free. And if you want to pick up some of the books in the SJS Direct 2019 catalog, I would really appreciate that, because I really want to get the sales up for the books of the SJS Direct catalog for 2019. And the books of the catalog are John Haynes' Dark Succubus, where the man who rules the world is tempted by a sultry succubus. Eastine, Goddess of, where the devilish diva takes on a demonic dominatrix. And Isis, All That Glitters, where the goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber. I really want to get the sales up on the fiction work of the SJS Direct imprint this month. And I really want to get people picking up the books of the 2019 fiction catalog. So I would really appreciate if you guys headed over to Amazon to pick up all of these books. And again, if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read these books for free. And you can, if you have Kindle Unlimited subscription, but I really want to get the sales up. And so I need everybody's help to do that. I thank everybody for coming to today's stream. This Friday's live stream at 10 p.m., I will be discussing the fall of the Negro Manosphere, and I'm hoping you'll be there for that discussion, because I'm going to go in depth talking about why the Negro Manosphere failed and why I believe the Negro Manosphere, the Black Manosphere, never got a chance to actualize its potential. Thank you all again for coming to today's stream, and I hope you'll be there for Friday's stream. And that one, I'm hoping, will be a classic.